In the quiet suburb of Maplewood, where the lawns were manicured and the houses stood in perfect rows, I, Alex Thompson, found myself embroiled in a nightmare that no dog owner should ever face. My service dog, Max, a golden retriever with a heart of gold, was suddenly at the center of a vicious attack orchestrated by none other than Karen Johnson, the president of our Homeowners Association, HOA. Karen was the self-appointed queen of conformity, ruling with an iron fist over the community's rules. She had a knack for turning minor infractions into major offenses, and her latest target was my beloved Max. The trouble began on a seemingly ordinary morning during our routine walk. The sun was shining, and the sprinklers danced in the gentle breeze. Max was happily sniffing the grass when a delivery truck backfired, startling him into a single bark, a warning, not a threat. But Karen, with her hawk-like gaze, was watching. She stormed out of her house, her floral top fluttering like a flag of war. "You cannot control that animal," she shrieked, her voice sharp enough to cut through the morning calm. I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "He's a service dog, Karen." He was startled. But Karen was relentless. "He's a menace. He barks constantly, threatening the peace of this community." Her words hung in the air, a blatant lie that twisted my stomach. Max was quieter than most dogs in the neighborhood, but Karen had decided he was a problem, and her word was law. As I turned to leave, Karen's theatrics escalated. She called the police, claiming Max lunged at her. I stood there, disbelief washing over me as she painted my loyal companion as a vicious beast. Just then, she pulled out a small canister and sprayed it directly into Max's face. He yelped, confusion and pain evident in his eyes. My heart shattered as I dropped to my knees beside him, checking his eyes, which were now red and tearing. "Karen, what did you just do?" My voice was low, filled with a quiet fury. The officers, Officer Miller and Officer Sanchez, looked on, their expressions a mix of disbelief and weariness. They had seen this before. Karen's antics were notorious. "Ma'am, you can't do that," Officer Miller said, stepping toward her. But Karen, with her usual bravado, insisted it was just citronella spray, harmless. I knew better. It was an assault on my service animal and I wasn't going to let it slide. The officers took our names and told Karen to go inside. They advised me to take Max home and avoid confrontation. But this was just the beginning. Karen had declared war, and I was determined to fight back. The following day, I received a visit from Officer Ruiz of Animal Control. He informed me that Karen had filed a report claiming Max bit a child. My blood ran cold. "That's impossible. There was no child." I protested, but the wheels of bureaucracy were already in motion. Max would need to be quarantined, and if I couldn't prove his innocence, he could be put down. That I had 24 hours to gather evidence. I spent the day researching the effects of citronella spray and documenting everything. I filed a report with the police, but deep down, I knew it might go nowhere. The clock was ticking, and I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders. As night fell, I noticed shadows moving outside my house. I crept to the window and saw two of Karen's cronies posting flyers about a new pet ordinance. I recorded their actions, knowing it would serve as evidence of Karen's manipulation. The next day, I began my search for witnesses. I approached my neighbors, but fear had gripped them. They were too scared of Karen's wrath to stand up for the truth. I felt like I was fighting a losing battle until I stumbled upon Sarah, Karen's assistant. After a tense encounter, I learned that Sarah had been coerced into signing the false report. She was terrified of losing her job but was also a victim of Karen's tyranny. I offered her a chance to redeem herself by telling the truth, and she agreed. With Sarah on my side, we prepared for the HOA meeting where Karen planned to finalize her attack. I called my friend Marcus, a tech wizard, to help me gather evidence. He hacked into the HOA's email server and uncovered a trail of Karen's deceit, including emails detailing her plan to have Max removed. The night of the meeting arrived, and the atmosphere was charged. I walked into the clubhouse, flanked by Marcus and Sarah. Karen sat at the front, her smug demeanor faltering as I presented my case. I called Sarah to the stand, and she recounted the truth of what happened that day. The room was silent as she spoke, and I could see the tide turning. Karen's face paled as the truth unraveled. Marcus revealed that the meeting was being live-streamed, and suddenly, Karen's power began to crumble. As the meeting concluded, the fallout was swift. The community rallied behind me, and Karen's reign of terror was exposed. The next morning, I received a call from Animal Control. They were dropping all charges against Max. In the weeks that followed, the HOA was dissolved, and a new board was formed. Karen was charged with multiple offenses, and her name became synonymous with abuse of power in our community. Max and I emerged from the ordeal stronger than ever. We were honored at a town meeting, where Max received a medal for his bravery. The park at the end of our street was renamed Max's Park, a testament to the loyalty and courage he had shown throughout our battle. As I sat on a bench in Max's Park, watching him play, I reflected on the question that had haunted me throughout this ordeal. How far would a man go to defend his own? The answer was clear. Far enough to fight for the truth, to protect those he loved, and to ensure that home felt like home again. But the battle had changed me. I had learned that standing up for what is right often comes with a price. The fear that had once gripped my neighbors began to dissipate, replaced by a newfound sense of community. People started to talk more openly, sharing their own stories of intimidation and fear. I organized a neighborhood meeting to discuss how we could prevent such abuses of power in the future. The turnout was overwhelming. Neighbors who had once been too afraid to speak out now shared their experiences, and together we formed a community watch group. We vowed to protect one another and hold each other accountable. As the weeks turned into months, the scars of the past began to heal. Max and I became symbols of resilience in Maplewood. We participated in community events, advocating for responsible pet ownership and the importance of service animals. I shared our story at schools and community centers, raising awareness about the rights of service animals and the importance of standing up against bullies. Karen's downfall served as a cautionary tale, a reminder that power can corrupt, but it can also be challenged. The new HOA board implemented changes to ensure transparency and accountability. They established a hotline for residents to report any issues without fear of retaliation. One sunny afternoon, as I walked Max through the park, I noticed a group of children playing. They approached us, their faces lighting up at the sight of my golden retriever. "Can we pet him?" one girl asked, her eyes wide with excitement. "Of course," I replied, kneeling down as Max wagged his tail, eager for the attention. The children giggled and petted him, their laughter filling the air. In that moment, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The battle had been hard-fought, but it had brought our community closer together. As I watched Max interact with the kids, I realized that our journey had not only been about protecting him but also about reclaiming our neighborhood. We had transformed fear into strength, and in doing so, we had built a community that valued kindness, support, and justice. The sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the park. I sat on a bench, Max resting his head on my lap, and I couldn't help but smile. We had faced the darkness together and emerged victorious. The question that had once haunted me, how far would a man go to defend his own, had been answered in ways I never could have imagined. That I would go as far as it took, not just for Max, but for every member of our community. Together, we had forged a bond that would withstand any storm, and I knew that as long as we stood united, we could face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the heart of Maplewood, Max and I had found our place, not just as a man and his dog, but as champions of a community that refused to be silenced. And as we walked home that evening, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight was over, but the journey was just beginning. Together, we would continue to advocate for those who couldn't speak for themselves, ensuring that our neighborhood remained a safe haven for all. With Max by my side, I was ready for whatever came next. The battle for justice had been won, but the fight for compassion and understanding would carry on, and I was determined to lead the charge.